Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News on India's Voice of the World. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. US President Joe Biden explains his abrupt departure from presidential race, says defense of democracy more important than any title, adds that he reversed the office but loves his country more.
Nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition.
Biden leaves a message for fellow Democrats, says he is passing the torch to a new generation, mentions Kamala Harris towards the end of her address, calls her experienced, tough and capable. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump launches a broadside against Kamala Harris, calls her a lunatic and the ultra-liberal driving force responsible for US immigration policies.
For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu outlines a plan for deradicalized post-conflict Gaza during his address to the US Congress, address marred by protests outside while many Democrats boycott his remarks. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will participate in the foreign ministers' meetings under the ASEAN framework in Laos on Thursday. Rebuffing weeks of pressure from Democrats to step aside after a disastrous debate performance on June 27th, saying at one point that only the Lord Almighty could convince him to go, US President Joe Biden explained his abrupt departure from the 2024 presidential race in a televised national address from the White House. US President Joe Biden cited his concerns about the future of US democracy and said that he was stepping aside to allow a new generation to take over.
I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation.
In his 11-minute speech, Biden again alluded to the threat that he believes Donald Trump poses to America's democracy and said that defense of democracy is more important than any other title.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. And we can never forget that. And I never have.
In a signal perhaps to the Democrats, Biden once again signaled his unwavering support for Vice President Kamala Harris.
In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country.
Countering the Republican narrative that he is going to be a lame duck president for the remainder of his term, Biden listed out his priorities, including defending the right to vote and right to choose.
We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world.
Biden will conclude his White House tenure on January 20th, 2025 as the oldest American president when he will have already turned 82. DD India. All right, DD India's Benji Hires joins us with more from Washington. Benji, good morning. Now, apart from his take that he is doing this for the sake of democracy, Biden also countered allegations of being a lame duck president for the remainder of his term. What do you think his decision to step aside has diminished his authority any bit, Benji?
Well, it's difficult to say because ultimately President Biden perhaps intentionally did not go into incredible detail about why he's taken this choice to withdraw from the 2024 race. Obviously, it comes off the back of that disastrous presidential debate weeks ago. There was the fall in the polls combined with the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, concerns over his age, mental acuity, fitness for office, health, and the most recent bout of COVID-19. Those weren't mentioned. For him, it was this broader idea about passing on the mantle, being that bridge to a new generation, which he'd promised when he first came to office in 2020. He's only realised it at the 11th hour that that move might be needed in order to try to defeat Donald Trump. He attempted to instill confidence in the remainder of his term by pointing to his list of accomplishments in regard to taking America out of the pit that it found itself in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, the division in the country following the assault on American democracy with the January 6, 2021 insurrection, incited from the claims of electoral fraud in the 2020 vote. And he also pointed towards what changes he could continue to make while still serving in the Oval Office in regard to civil rights, in regard to climate change, in regard to foreign policy, in regard to countering political violence and gun violence. But ultimately, I think this was for him trying to protect the legacy that he was, which was so precious to him and is so precious to every political figure. This was a chance, his first opportunity really, to set out how he will be remembered after he leaves the White House, whilst explaining to the American voters that whilst he has, in his eyes, fought for democracy in past years and in fact during his entire 50 years of public service, that issue is back on the line again in this election and is at stake, and therefore he has urged his voters to stand by his vice president, his number two, who has taken his place at the top of the ticket come November.
All right, Benji, also Biden made an interesting remark during the address that for all of what he achieved, he deserved a second term. This, in fact, really tells us how it has been for him to take this decision to step aside, isn't it?
Yeah, he feels that the job still has to be done. That was a claim that's been made consistently by him, was reiterated tonight. It's something the White House has maintained. But ultimately he feels now, or at least he's been pressured to feel, that the mission to achieve the rest of his agenda can be best fulfilled through beating Donald Trump. And the way that the race was going, it seemed inevitable that he would have to step aside for a younger contender, in this case Kamala Harris, who has all but sealed the nomination and will likely face off against the former president in the November vote. And it will be up to the American public to decide on the direction that they want to take. Is it to see through Joe Biden's agenda, which he would have liked to have fulfilled himself, or is it to return to the presidency of Donald Trump?
All right, Benji, Biden also mentioned reforms of the Supreme Court. Now, last few weeks, some decisions by the court have triggered muted and not so muted reactions by the Democrats. What exactly do you think he was referring to?
Well, this is centered in the idea that the Supreme Court, which is the third pillar of American democracy, alongside the executive, which is the White House, the legislature, which is Congress. The Supreme Court is the judiciary, supposed to be one of the checks and balances in this system, but ultimately it has become a major obstacle for many of the Democratic Party's aims, given the ideological bend of the court in favour of conservative policies, and Donald Trump's agenda. And what that has meant is that there has been a vast change during Joe Biden's administration to things like abortion rights. There have been historic rulings in favor of Donald Trump and related to presidential immunity. And Joe Biden feels that one of the lasting legacies that he might be able to leave on the country is a reformed court where it no longer holds such political sway. Realistically, that's going to be very difficult to achieve when you consider the fact that the current makeup of Congress is so tightly fought between the two major parties. There is not an overwhelming consensus to expand the court. There may indeed be discussions about pushing some of the older justices to retire so that the incumbent Joe Biden, whilst he is still incumbent, can try to secure a replacement and not end up in the situation that happened in the last election where Donald Trump came to power and installed 3 justices to the bench.
All right, Benji, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And former U.S. President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump launched a volley of attacks against the country's vice president and his new Democratic rival, Kamala Harris. Addressing a rally in North Carolina, Trump called Kamala Harris ultra-liberal driving force who should be held responsible for Biden administration's policies on immigration. Saying Democratic Party bosses were behind Biden's decision to step down, Trump accused Harris of covering up Biden's mental health.
Gets in, she would be the most radical far-left extremist ever to occupy the White House times 10. There's never been a lunatic like this in the White House, and we've had some bad ones. So now they bring in this one who's worse than him. She's worse than him. Because he's a fake liberal. You know, he wasn't that liberal. He was fake. She's a real liberal. She really is a real liberal. She's much worse than him.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington calling on the U.S. to continue to support his country. He spoke to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday ahead of the talks planned with U.S. President Biden. However, people outside the Capitol building gathered to demonstrate against it, as Caroline Malone reports.
Well, Free Palestine was one of the strongest messages that protesters were calling for in their big demonstrations that were happening just outside the US Capitol on Wednesday. Different groups gathering in different parts of the US Capitol, some at the main train station, some directly next to where Congress was gathering for a joint session to listen to the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, giving his speech at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Wednesday. In that speech, he called for bipartisan support from the US to Israel to try and make sure that the US continues, both in word and militarily, to supply what Israel feels that it needs in its fight against Hamas.
We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose.
But increasingly, though, we are seeing these types of protests around the country, and people have traveled to Washington from different parts of the US for these protests, from the West Coast, from Michigan, from other states. We've seen it in primaries in which people decided to vote basically against Biden's policy of supporting Israel over the last few months, and increasingly concern over the number of civilians who are being killed in Gaza, the death toll on Palestinians, the impact on the education, on the health service, on everyone that is continuing to live there under very difficult conditions. You know, overall, though, the message from Netanyahu was that it's important for the US to continue to support Israel because Israel is the strongest ally that the US has in the Middle East, and that it's important to keep a united front against enemies. He didn't specify which enemies, but we can imagine, you know, there's a lot of different groups that are not in favor with Israel right now, not just Hamas, but affiliated groups, Hezbollah, and of course Iran is a big concern as well. Caroline Malone reporting from Washington for DD India.
U.S. President Joe Biden will hold Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Thursday to discuss progress towards a ceasefire in Gaza and the hostage release. Vice President Kamala Harris is also scheduled to hold a separate meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, these high-level talks are part of the ongoing diplomatic efforts to end the Gaza conflict. Meanwhile, negotiations on a ceasefire for hostages deal in Gaza conflict appear to be in their closing stages. A senior U.S. official said both Israel and Hamas still have some issues to resolve, but that a deal is close in which a 6-week ceasefire would take place in the exchange for the release of women, elderly men and wounded hostages over a 42-day period. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, Taiwan conducts the annual Han Kuang exercise, a live fire drill during the annual War Games in Matsu Islands. Flags in Nepal to fly at half-mast on Thursday in honor of the Sora plane crash victims. A 5-member committee to investigate the mishap. World's largest and first of its kind conservation center, Platypus Rescue Headquarters, has welcomed its founding population.
We simply throw things away when we're done using them, be it a cup, an old shirt, or a used battery. But we can do a lot better. Let's find out how.
I thought I can get a bunch of people together and we can just create this beautiful product while not being wasteful, while paying people correctly, while not throwing things into the garbage can.
Our goal is to recover 95% of our nickel, which is the most expensive, most valuable ore, including aluminum and copper, of course.
We are successfully managing waste in this small town with a limited number of people, resources and market. If we can do that here, it would definitely be possible in larger towns that have many advantages over us.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you more international updates. Taiwan on Wednesday conducted a live fire drill during the annual War Games in northern Matsu Islands. Now, this year's annual Han Kuang exercise went ahead with mixed artillery company preparing and firing live ammunition. The exercise, which began on Monday, has been severely curtailed by the impact of Typhoon Gami. Live fire drills take place on Taiwan's outlying islands, including Kinmen, Matsu and Penghu, which sit nestled next to the Chinese coast. With these, Taiwan is apparently trying to demonstrate its self-defense capabilities and determination. China has been staging regular exercises around the island for years. All right, Chris Gilbert joins us with more from Tokyo. Chris, good morning. Now, we told our viewers that Taiwan is holding live fire drills. Get us more on the intensity of these drills as they are pitted against amphibious and naval attacks from the People's Liberation Army.
Well, they're fairly serious. They're the Han Kuang annual military drills. They go on for 5 days, which for, just one military, Navy and Air Force is quite a long time. Usually we see that span of time for trilateral or bilateral drills. And they want them to simulate live action as much as possible. Troops often aren't told scenarios before they come up. They're not prepped necessarily on what's going to happen, so there's the element of surprise. There's a lot of focus of them happening at nighttime, and they're looking to replicate real situations. Before the Navy and the Air Force was pulled out of the drills yesterday, the Navy in particular had been simulating moving their vessels to areas which are difficult to access by the Chinese Navy. And as you mentioned, on Penghu Island yesterday, there was a simulation using live fire of Stinger and other types of missiles, anti-tank missiles, and machine gun fire as well to simulate covering fire for ground troops. Of course, yesterday, because of the typhoon, the naval and air exercises were cancelled. 29,000 personnel of the military were put on standby to respond to the typhoon for civilians. And so for today and tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, it does seem as though reportedly the rest of the exercises have been cancelled across the board.
All right, Chris, Typhoon Gemi has also made a landfall in Taiwan. Give us a quick update on that as well.
Yeah, Typhoon Gemi was bouncing off the coast of southeastern Taiwan overnight at a local time. That is because of the mountainous nature of the island. The typhoon kind of hit and rebound off the mountains, and what that really did was prolong the effects of the typhoon. We're talking 205 km/h winds, storm surges, heavy rain, and that was prolonged for the southeast of the coast for about 5 to 8 hours. We know there have been at least 3 fatalities so far. One person hit by a falling tree while riding their motorized scooter. Another person was hit by debris coming off a roof. There have been at least 225 related injuries and minor infrastructure damage that we know of across the island. Schools are still closed, businesses are still closed, flights and public transportation are still disrupted as the typhoon now looks to make its way into the Taiwan Strait for the remainder of Thursday and into China going into Friday, where it's expected to expand and with that expansion intensify, which is difficult for officials there who are already responding to weeks of heavy rain and flooding already.
All right, Chris, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And from Taiwan, we'll now turn focus to Philippines. Residents in Philippines returned to their homes on Thursday after Typhoon Gemi dumped heavy rains, triggering floods in the capital Manila and nearby provinces, killing at least 12 people and displacing over 600,000. The typhoon did not make landfall in the Philippines, but has intensified seasonal monsoon rains, causing landslides and flooding over the past few days. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. told the disaster relief agencies to provide assistance and prepare supplies for isolated communities. Lightning strikes, high temperatures and gusty winds are challenging fire crews across Spain as they tackle new blazes popping up and continue to suppress the older fires. According to the Aragon authorities, 11 airborne vehicles, including 7 helicopters and 4 seaplanes, were working to contain the fire. 37 people were evacuated from their homes as firefighters continue to battle the blaze in the pine forest. Spain's weather service, EMET, has put about half of Spain's territory on orange alert for heat and part of the eastern region of Extremadura on red alert. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva kicked off a global effort on Wednesday to end hunger and extreme poverty, aiming to make it a hallmark of Brazil's G20 presidency. Brazil will officially launch the initiative in November when heads of state gather for the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro. Wednesday's event paved the way for countries and institutions to join the proposal, which aims to pool knowledge, resources and partnerships to combat malnutrition. Lula hailed the nascent Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty alongside foreign officials in Rio de Janeiro, where finance and development ministers from the world are meeting this week.
Nothing is as absurd and unacceptable in the 21st century as the persistence of hunger and poverty. No issue is more current and more challenging for humanity. We cannot normalize such disparities. Hunger is the most degrading of human deprivations, an attack on life, an assault on freedom.
Bangladeshi Junior Minister for Information Mohammad A. Arafat visited the recently destroyed building of the state-owned television station Bangladesh Television in Dhaka. The station was vandalized following clashes between protesters and security forces, which left almost 150 people dead. University students had been protesting against quotas in government jobs. The country has been relatively calm since Sunday, when the Supreme Court ruled in favor of an appeal from Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government and directed that 93% of the jobs should be open to candidates on merit. The Nepalese government has decided to fly the flags half-mast on Thursday in honor of Sauria plane crash victims. A total of 18 people died when a Sauria Airlines aircraft crashed at the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu on Wednesday. 19 people, including 2 crew members, were on the Pokhara-bound flight, which took off from Kathmandu. Most passengers were airline staff traveling to Pokhara for aircraft maintenance. The pilot of the ill-fated Sauria airline plane is the lone survivor of the crash. Meanwhile, a 5-member committee has been formed to investigate the crash. The committee, led by former Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, has been mandated to submit the report within 45 days. In more international updates, hundreds of Mexican families arrived in Guatemala seeking refuge from a wave of violence sweeping the southern of Mexico. Guatemalan President Bernard Aravelo said on Wednesday at a press conference that the Mexican families are escaping from clashes between groups on the Mexican side. Residents of two towns of Chiapas state started to arrive in Guatemala on Tuesday, seeking refuge after armed groups stormed the town, threatening them and asking them to leave their homes. The Mexican government is yet to comment on the wave of violence in the south of the country. In US's North Carolina, a massive vehicle crash on Interstate 95 near Kenly killed at least 5 people on Wednesday. Authorities report at least 5 people died in the crash, involving 2 tractor trailers and 2 passenger vehicles. One of the trucks was engulfed in flames in the middle of the road. Part of I-95 remains shut down following the devastating crash in North Carolina. Identities of the victims were not immediately known, and troopers are still working to determine the cause of the crash. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. World's largest and first of its kind conservation center, Platypus Rescue HQ, has welcomed its founding population, 4 platypuses, as part of a project to advance understanding of the monotreme's reproductive cycle. Known for its bill, webbed feet and venomous spurs, the platypus, a species unique to Australia, is one of the only 2 egg-laying mammals globally and spends most of its time in the water at night. An affordable electric vehicle has been unveiled by a Bolivian auto manufacturer on the challenging terrains of Latin America, from potholed city streets to dirt-covered mountain roads. Priced at $15,500 in Bolivia, Nexus accommodates 4 passengers and boasts a top speed of 62 miles per hour. The battery offers a driving range of between 93 to 124 miles. Outfits, musical instruments and other objects on loan from musician Taylor Swift are going on display at London's Victoria and Albert Museum in a first-of-a-kind exhibition. Titled Taylor Swift Songbook, it is made up of 13 installations across the museum's many galleries. NASA telescope spotted a super Jupiter that takes over a century to go around its star. The super Jupiter has been spotted around a neighboring star by the Webb Space Telescope, and it has a super orbit. The planet is roughly the same diameter as Jupiter, but with 6 times the mass. Its atmosphere is also rich in hydrogen like Jupiter's. We're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India News. But after the break, 57th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting opens to discuss regional and global issues. DRDO successfully flight tested Phase 2 ballistic missile defense system. Daughters of Kargil war martyrs pen stories on war heroes.
We simply throw things away when we're done using them, be it a cup, an old shirt, or a used battery. But we can do a lot better. Let's find out how.
I thought I can get a bunch of people together and we can just create this beautiful product while not being wasteful, while paying people correctly, while not throwing things into the garbage can.
Our goal is to recover 95% of our nickel, which is the most expensive, most valuable ore, including aluminum and copper, of course.
We are successfully managing waste in this small town with a limited number of people, resources and market. If we can do that here, it would definitely be possible in larger towns that have many advantages over us.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories once again. President Joe Biden explains his abrupt departure from presidential race, says defense of democracy more important than any title, adds that he reveres the office but loves his country more. Biden leaves a message for fellow Democrats, says he is passing the torch to a new generation, mentions Kamala Harris towards the end of the address, calls her experienced, tough and capable. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump launches a broadside against Kamala Harris, calls her a lunatic and the ultra-liberal driving force responsible for U.S. immigration policies. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu outlines a plan for de-radicalized post-conflict Gaza during his address to the U.S. Congress, address marred by protests outside while many Democrats boycott his remarks. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will participate in the foreign ministers' meetings under the ASEAN framework in Laos on Thursday. The 57th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting kicked off today with Laos Foreign Minister delivering the opening remarks under the theme ASEAN, Enhancing Connectivity and Resilience. The meeting of the foreign ministers from the ASEAN will be followed by two summits in Vientiane, Laos, PDR between July 25th to July 27th. The meeting is set to address key global issues that will be attended by officials from the United States, European Union, Japan, China, Russia and more. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will participate in foreign ministers' meetings under the ASEAN framework. He is also expected to hold bilateral meetings with his counterparts from other countries on the margins of the ASEAN-related meetings. Earlier on Wednesday, UK Foreign Secretary visited India where he called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. During their meeting, Prime Minister said that India remains committed to elevating its ties with the UK and welcomes the desire to conclude a mutually beneficial free trade pact. This was Lamy's first official visit to India in his capacity as the UK Foreign Secretary. During his visit, British Foreign Secretary also met External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and reviewed the Roadmap 2030 agreed during the India-UK Virtual Summit 2021. Both the sides appreciated the substantial progress made in the India-UK FTA negotiations and looked forward to its early conclusion to achieve a mutually beneficial FTA.
Our relationship, it is a very important relationship, but there are enormous possibilities there. How we explore those possibilities, how do we realize our potential in a more meaningful way is one of the tasks that I look forward to undertaking with you. We are both countries which have a big global presence in different ways. So I think it's also important that India and the UK work together on global issues.
UK Foreign Secretary also met India's National Security Advisor. Both sides welcomed the launch of UK-India Technology Security Initiative to expand collaboration in critical and emerging technologies across priority sectors. This would be helpful for improving supply chain resilience and also for developing economically feasible and environmentally sustainable extraction technologies for identified critical minerals. The collaboration under this will include government, private sector, academia and research and development institutions. All right, DD India's Akshay Dongri joins us with more. Akshay, what have been the high points of this bilateral meeting?
Well, in fact, Preeti, first and perhaps foremost, the most important point of this meeting was the fact that this visit by the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom has taken place within a month of the Labour Party coming to power with David Lammy as the Foreign Secretary for the United Kingdom. Now, he had also made a promise to the Indian diaspora, especially during the election campaigning, that within the first month of taking over or coming to power, he will be visiting India to reset ties. Now, the word reset has been used by the UK government as far as the ties between the two nations are concerned. The free trade agreement that has been discussed at length has been an issue that concerns both the countries and in fact the global economy at large, with both India and the UK two major economic powerhouses in the world. However, the statement also highlighted this point that that was issued by the United Kingdom government ahead of David Lammy's visit to India, that he looks forward to deepen ties with India, which the United Kingdom considers as an upcoming superpower in the world, not just in terms of military but in terms of economic strength as well. The discussions on security, the discussions on technology, the pacts on defense, and the outlining of the future of the relations between these two nations has in fact been the most important point, with both these nations reaffirming or rather reiterating the firm belief that the trade between UK and India will be doubling by 2030. Also, the signing of Indo-UK technology security pact has also been quite important, which will be headed by the national security advisors of both the nations. David Lammy not just met the External Affairs Minister of India, he also met with the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. He also called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi as far as his visit is concerned. So, a resetting of ties, and in fact considering the free trade agreement not the floor but the ceiling of the relation between these two nations, that means that this is just going to be the bedrock of the relations between these two countries, which will be going forward from here on. And after the signing of free trade agreement, both the nations can in fact mutually benefit from the agreements that that are expected to be signed soon, were discussed, and these were some of the key highlights of the visit by Mr. David Lammy to India.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in. And today is the fourth day of the budget session of Indian Parliament. Further discussion on the union budget and the budget for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will continue. Each political party has been allotted their time to speak on the budget in both the houses. On Wednesday, from the opposition, Congress leader Kumari Selja began the debate in the lower house, followed by Trinamool Congress. While from the ruling BJP, Biplab Kumar Dev began the discussion. He highlighted the key aspects of budget which aim to focus on employment generation and skill development. Parliament will continue till 12th of August. India's premier defence research and development organisation DRDO successfully flight tested Phase 2 ballistic missile defence system. The target missile was launched from LC-4 Dhamra at 4:20 p.m. mimicking adversary ballistic missile, which was detected by weapon system radars deployed on land and sea and activated the AD interceptor system.
कानून सबको भी एक ही होता है, मगर
tracking instruments like electro-optical systems, radar and telemetry stations deployed by Integrated Test Range Chandipur at various locations, including the onboard ship. India's Defence Minister has congratulated DRDO for today's successful flight test of Phase 2 ballistic missile defence system and stated that the test has again demonstrated our ballistic missile defence capability. It has been 25 years since India won the mother of all battles in Kargil against Pakistan. But beyond the headlines of war and victory, there are many untold stories of the war heroes. The daughters of a Kargil martyr have decided to pen such stories. Their third book speaks about a barefooted soldier who was awarded Mahavir Chakra for his bravery in the high peaks of Himalayas. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo finds out more.
While Atule waited for his brother in uniform to take over the expenses of the big happy Naga family in Kohima, Nibu was already on his way to a land of no return.
Doctor by profession, Neha lost her father in the Kargil war when she was only 12. Having lost her father, Major C.B. Dwivedi Neha decided to pen stories of the Kargil heroes. Her third book, Neebu Saab, the barefooted Naga Kargil hero. It's the story of a young officer, Captain Nike Zakuo Kengruse in 2nd Rajputana Rifles. He was tasked to capture Lone Hill with 10 platoon of the D Company when he attained martyrdom on 29 June in 1999. Captain Kengruse was fondly called Neebu Saab by his fellow soldiers.
We were very intrigued about his story, and it seemed Atule was also looking for someone to write his story. So Diksha actually moved ahead and she spoke to him about his story, and then we decided to bring it on together. And considering it was Atule telling his brother's story and me and Diksha being siblings, in that sense it fell beautifully for us to be able to, for us to be the ones telling the story of these siblings.
Neha travelled to Nagaland along with her younger sister Diksha, who is the co-author of this book. Diksha says that it is the heroism and sacrifice of the person that inspires her to choose the protagonist of her book.
A story on a Kargil war hero from 2 Rajrif, a Mahavir Chakra awardee, Captain Nike Zakuo Kengruse, and I think that story is so important because it's so different. He's a martyr from a state that we don't hear a lot about, which is Nagaland.
Having lost their own father in the war, Kargil continues to inspire the siblings. Their father, Major C.B. Dwivedi, was awarded the Sena Medal posthumously for his bravery in Kargil. And so, even 25 years after his heroic death, the Dwivedi sisters continue to inspire the nation with a saga of sacrifice. From Letters from Kargil to Neebu Saab, Neha and Diksha have written 3 books. But this is not all. The journey continues. And their aim is to bring the stories of these heroes in public so that the world gets to know why Indian Army is the best. It is all because of these heroes. With cameraman Sumit in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav inaugurated the 500th community radio station virtually at the regional campus of Indian Institute of Mass Communication in the northeastern state of Mizoram. He urged the state government to involve the people and artists from the state and develop the programs that reflect local culture and customs. The minister also underlined the focus of the Government of India on furthering improving the connectivity of the northeastern states of the country.
This initiative will bring a very significant and substantive change in the lives of the people who are covered under this radio station's coverage area. I'll request Honorable Chief Minister, sir, to associate local groups, local cultural groups, local student groups who can come to this radio station, develop their own programs and make this a really community radio. The Government of India was only look east, but Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has given a new policy of act east. Not just look east, but act east, which means we have to do more and more work in the northeastern states and provide the connectivity of railway, highway, digital connectivity, and today the radio connectivity.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. The body of leading seaman Sitendra Singh, who went missing after the fire incident on board INS Brahmaputra, has been found today. Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh Tripathi has extended his deepest condolences to his family following the incident in Naval Dockyard, Mumbai. Admiral Tripathi visited Mumbai and reviewed the sequence of events leading to the accident and efforts undertaken to locate the missing sailor. Shani Chandra Grahan, also known as the lunar occultation of Saturn, was observed in several parts of the country on the intervening night of July 24th and 25th. This astronomical event, which occurs approximately every 18 years, was visible on the late hours of July 24th and till early morning hours of July 25th. A quick break ahead, but after the break on DD India News Hour, you'll see at Paris Olympics 2024, Indian archers to take aim in the archery ranking rounds. Yannick Sinner pulls out of Paris Olympics. A glimpse of Dubai's Aya universe that offers an escape from Dubai's scorching summer with its futuristic art installations.
We simply throw things away when we're done using them, be it a cup, an old shirt, or a used battery. But we can do a lot better. Let's find out how.
I thought I can get a bunch of people together and we can just create this beautiful product while not being wasteful, while paying people correctly, while not throwing things into the garbage can.
Our goal is to recover 95% of our nickel, which is the most expensive, most valuable ore, including aluminum and copper, of course.
We are successfully managing waste in this small town with a limited number of people, resources, and market. If we can do that here, it would definitely be possible in larger towns that have many advantages over us.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's turn focus to business updates now. We'll talk of the action of the markets. First, we'll talk of US markets. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ closed at multi-week lows on Wednesday as lackluster earnings from Tesla and Alphabet undermined investor confidence in mega-cap tech names that had previously driven 2024's equity rally. Investor reactions pushed both the benchmark S&P 500 and the NASDAQ Composite to their lowest finishes since June. Meanwhile, Dow Jones Industrial Average closed below 40,000 points for the first time in 2 weeks. Tesla weighed heavily on Wednesday, slumping after the electric vehicle maker reported its lowest profit margin in more than 5 years and missed second quarter earnings estimates. Google parent Alphabet dropped despite second quarter earnings beat as investors focused on an advertising growth slowdown and the company flagged high capital expenses for the year. All right, let's turn focus to sports now. Indian Olympic gold medalist shooter Abhinav Bindra was awarded with Olympic Order by the International Olympic Committee, that is the IOC. The award was presented to Bindra for his outstanding services to the Olympic movement, and it will be officially handed over to him during the 142nd IOC session in Paris on August 10th, a day before the closing of the Paris Olympics. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday congratulated Abhinav Bindra for getting honored with the Olympic Order award. Prime Minister Modi took to his social media account to send his wishes to the 2008 Beijing gold medalist. Prime Minister wrote, and I quote him, "It makes every Indian proud that Abhinav Bindra has been awarded the Olympic Order. Congratulations to him. Be it as an athlete or a mentor to upcoming sportspersons, he has made noteworthy contributions to the sports and the Olympic movement." India's Paris 2024 Olympics campaign begins on Thursday with Deepika Kumari and the squad taking aim in the archery ranking rounds. For the first time since London 2012, India has fielded 6 archers at the Olympics, challenging in all 5 medal events: men's team and individual, women's team and individual, and mixed team. Today's ranking round will be critical to Indian archers' medal ambitions at the Games. India's Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports, Raksha Khatse, praised the hard work of Indian athletes who are participating in the Paris Olympics.
कुछ ही दिनों में ओलंपिक्स गेम शुरू होने वाला और इस बार हमारे देश के सभी खिलाड़ियों ने काफ़ी अच्छी मेहनत की और भारत सरकार ने भी पूरा प्रयास किया है कि हमारे देश के खिलाड़ियों के लिए वर्ल्ड क्लास फैसिलिटी हम उपलब्ध करवाएं और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि हमारे देश के खिलाड़ी इस बार अच्छा प्रदर्शन हमारे देश के लिए करेंगे और अच्छे मेडल्स हमारे देश के लिए लाएंगे। तो चलिए आइए हम इन सब बच्चों को पूरा समर्थन दें। लेट्स चीयर फॉर भारत।
All right, Narayan Singh joins us with more from Paris. Narayan, good morning. Now we'll see the Indian archers in action today. Let us get from you, how do we expect the day to pan out for the archers?
Good morning, Preeti. Today, actually, the opening ceremony will start tomorrow on 26th of July, and before that, a few events are lined up and India will start their campaign with the archery, and we know that we have a talented pool of archers mixed of youth and experience. We have the archers like Deepika Kumari, who has participated in the 3 previous Olympic, and she have immense experience, and with her experience she can also mentor the young players like Ankita Bhagat. And we also have a fantastic pool of archers, recurve archery in men's section also. Dheeraj Mohammadevra is there, Praveen Yadav is there. And so we can hope that they will do miracles this time.
There is some disruption in your audio. We'll try getting back to you again. But at present, there is disruption and your audio is not clear. We'll try getting back to you again. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to tennis now. Top ranked Yannick Sinner has pulled out of the Paris Olympic Games 2024 on Wednesday, citing the reasons. Now, what is the reason that has been given by him? Sinner has pulled out citing tonsillitis. Now, the 22-year-old from Italy posted on social media that he was advised by the doctor that he should sit out of the Summer Games. Sinner won the Australian Open in January for his first Grand Slam title and moved to #1 position in the ATP rankings last month. Sinner last played at Wimbledon 2024, where he was knocked out in the quarterfinals by Daniil Medvedev. All right, talking of the Olympics, then Paris is alive with Olympic enthusiasm as fans eagerly purchase exclusive merchandise, leading to a spike in sales there. The city's vibrant atmosphere reflects the excitement of the locals and visitors alike. As the games draw near, Paris is prepared to host the world. Exclusive report by our correspondent Narayan Singh from Paris.
Paris is buzzing with Olympic excitement as sports fans rush to buy exclusive merchandise ahead of the 2024 Games. From jerseys to mascots and pins to memorabilia, stores are seeing a surge in sales, with some items selling out within hours. The surge reflects not just a passion for sports but also a deep-rooted pride in hosting the prestigious international event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you just feel the merchandise, and not only that, it's a great value. If I bought this in the U.S., it's probably double the value. So not only are they selling really good quality, but at a really good value out there. So I mean, look, I'm loading up. So it's good stuff. Good stuff.
I've always wanted to go to an Olympics, and this is a dream come true, especially here in Paris. I'm very excited. Can't wait.
So you buy anything?
Oh yeah, I've got shirts for me, the family, nieces, everything, pins, everything you can imagine I'm buying.
The atmosphere in Paris is electrifying as locals and visitors alike immerse themselves in the Olympic spirit. Store owners are reporting unprecedented demand, with some items selling out within hours of hitting the shelves. With preparations in full swing and excitement soaring, all eyes are now eagerly awaiting the moment when Paris officially welcomes the world to the 2024 Olympic Games.
The fever of the Paris Olympic is at zenith, and here we are in Paris, and the fever, we can say that people from all walks of life are here, and the demand of the Olympic based theme merchandise is also high. And here it is the mascot of the Paris Games, and people are here coming to buy it, and they are enjoying these merchandise. And apart from that, the Olympics based t-shirts are also here. And when we talk to people, talk to the sports fan, they said that they are quite, we can say that fantastic, the fabric is good, and also they said that they are, these brands, these fabrics are quite cheap, and we are hoping that they are enjoying. And apart from that, many more things are here, especially here we can see that Eiffel Tower is also there, and people are buying it, and all the things that are related to Paris are high in demand. And such things makes the Olympic Games more memorable. With camera person Senthil, Narayan Singh for DD India, Paris.
All right, Narayan Singh is joining us with more from Paris. Narayan, we were talking about the contest today where archers will be in action, though the opening ceremony will be held tomorrow. But today's events would be very crucial for the ambitious dreams of the Indian archers there. How do we expect the day to pan out?
Definitely, Preeti, if we talk about Indian archers, we have some quality and talented archers in the rank 3 in the men's and 3 in the women's, and we have the seasoned archers like Deepika Kumari, who has the experience of the 3 Olympics, and with her experience she can give valuable tips to her juniors also. We have Ankita Bhagat too in the women's archery section. So if we talk about men's, Dheeraj Bomadevra is there, Praveen Jadhav is there, and Tarundeep Rai is there. So the ranking rounds will start, and they will just we can say that create a seeding for the main event. So all in all, in the past we have seen our archers has done exceptionally well in the international event, but when it comes to Olympics, their performance was not up to the mark. But this time around they will look to improve that performance in Olympics, and they will try to win an Olympic medal here for the country.
All right, Narayan, when we talk of India's participation at this stage, at this level, then how do you evaluate, because a record number of participants will be participating at Paris Olympics. Let us get more from you as to what would be the highlights, what it is that we should look forward to at the Paris Olympics this time around.
A pretty big expectation, huge expectation from our athletes, because we know that it's the second largest contingent India is sending in the Olympics after Tokyo. Tokyo has 121 member contingent, and now it's 117. And we know that what kind of performance our athletes had delivered in the recent past, and what kind of efforts were made by the government side. If we talk about the Paris Olympics, here a huge support contingent, support members, support staff is there for our athlete. First time a medical expert team has been sent with the team, and we can say that the best medicine expert in the India, Dingshaw Pradiwala, is leading the team. Also there are recovery, we can say that recovery doctors are also there for our team, so that they can easily recover after their practice, after their matches. Nutritionist is there, sleep therapist is there, conditioning coach is there. So there no stone has been left unturned, so that our athlete can win medals for the country.
Right,
and
Narayan.
apart from that, we know that huge athletic track and field contingent is also there of 29
So prominent sports there where Indians will be competing at Paris Olympics. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. We'll again come back to you during the day, but as of now, thank you. And escaping Dubai's extreme summer heat, visitors step into a reimagined world filled with vibrant and interactive experiences. From mirror rooms, light shows to illuminated gardens, Aya Universe, a 40,000 square foot park, transports visitors to another dimension through 12 immersive rooms filled with futuristic art installations. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes on the screens. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.